Bo, not sure if you saw the news while I was in Australia, but it looks like Meta is whacking 10%. Microsoft is, basically giving folks early retirement, 7%. Nike laid off 1,400. And I bet there's been more layoffs that I've missed. So if people are in tech, they need to find that plan B. They need to look for that small business. What say you?
Yeah, I agree 100%. We had our first National Association of SBA loan brokers. I had 100 plus people here in town. We actually did it at the Blind Center last week.
I saw those pics. Nice work.
We had 30 plus banks there, and they're seeing a little strain. I think there's a lot of people getting into business ownership a little bit, might be a little bit above their heads. So you have all these searchers that come from these Ivy League colleges, and they think they can go buy a business, and they don't have any blue collar experience. They never
no operational experience. Everything's book smarts.
Right. They work with they have never worked with tradespeople. So actually, my thesis is that real estate investors have much better background for owning a business than some Ivy League guy that has never run a business, doesn't know how to communicate with blue collar workers. And like Live Oak Bank, largest SBA lender, they're laying off a lot of their business acquisition BDOs, their bankers, because they must have some stress in their portfolio. So my thesis is that there's going to be extremely good buying opportunities going like now, meaning like, and it's getting tighter, which means you have to be more qualified to be able to buy these businesses. So you have to have a good, resume. You have to be able to show a little bit of transferable experience. So that could be that you're in management, C-level, C-suite type of person. So we're seeing a big shift of those C-suite. Like, so if we look at like the viewers of the ORAT community, they actually fit the profile well for business ownership.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because, I have interviewed, managed, and a lot of Ivy League guys over the years, Harvard, Yale's, Oxford, all those types. And to say that many of them had egos larger than their abilities is an understatement. Not all. I hired several, but they definitely came with a chip on their shoulder, and I could see how they would arrogantly come into a situation about buying a mom and pop business and, probably trying to create some kind of, structure where they're collapsing multiple together. And then, and they have this magical exit in 3 years because that's how it works on a spreadsheet. It's that simple. But in reality, you're working with customers and clients and vendors and 1099s and tradespeople. And, it's not a spreadsheet. And I think you're absolutely right. The real estate investors got multiple years experience on them, know how to deal with people. Because that's the big thing about real estate. It's a people business. Ivy League education is a spreadsheet and, I don't know, drinking coffee experience. And, real estate's a people business. And real estate investors get that. I think that's a pretty good observation you had.
Yeah. So I like that. I like working with real estate investors because I feel like, and also I see a lot of what I do see happening now is that the real estate investors, but they worked corporate, they got laid off, and they're like, all right, I've got, my passion is really real estate, but I don't want to go get another job, but I'm not ready to, yeah. I can't live off my portfolio. So like, that's the other avatar I talk to a lot. And so I think that's why home service and B2B franchise models make a lot of sense because you have support and infrastructure. If you buy a mom and pop business, it doesn't mean you're going to, when you take it over, there's a lot of stress. You could get eaten alive. You could get eaten alive. Like a lot of people right now, they think they can go, hey, I want to own an HVAC business because it's extremely boring. It's lucrative. Well, if you're not there and they don't know who you are and some new owner bought the business and never shows their face in the business, that thing is not going to succeed.
No.
We had a big conversation about this in one of my groups. So the reality of it is you need to be boots on the ground, just like and that's why we talk about in the rental business. Like when I was buying properties in South Bend, it was a great place to buy, but if I'm not there, it's not a great place to buy. And I figured that out the hard way, It's just like, okay, You never get the cash flow out of the deals. You're not there to walk the properties. You're not there to get the right subs in when you need work done. So I would never do that again. I mean, if I'm not going to be able to go kick the tires, I'm not going to go there. And it's the same thing with business ownership. It's even more so. You need to be hands-on.
It's interesting. Again, you've had this the whole time we've been talking, 4 or 5 years now, this onerentalmeeting.com. But it's even more important to me now because of what you just brought up, the fact that there's a lot of tech workers, a lot of people on our channel that are afraid of what might be coming or God forbid already happened to a couple of them. And they need to reach out to you because you could take them through a Zoracle or other surveys and really find out what's good for them. And then the whole franchise model, that is the big thing that I thought was really interesting. Because if you go to Cody or Sanchez or Alex Hormozy or Gary Vee, they're talking about just buying some brick and mortar, mom and pop. But to your point, that's really risky, right? You have no experience, no customer relationships, none of those things. You've got no, SOPs. And, that's why a franchise might be a great way to start this thing because you have that support and that training and all that infrastructure.
Yeah, when we took over the tile and grout restoration franchise, it was a resale. The beautiful thing was that the guy did a great job and had a lot of reviews. So we immediately got super busy. It was a non-performing franchise, meaning, it made money, but the guy never grew it. And you have to have technicians. So we got the operator running the business. He goes in there, goes through the training, and he's now able to do the work. His problem is now we have to hire. So we're looking to hire a technician, and then we're going to have to hire another one. But the amazing thing is there's so much business out there for people that work hard. Like the franchise model got him up to speed within 30 days, and he's able. He's not perfect yet, but we're going to grow this business into a $1 million a year top line business in the next 12 to 18 months, 24 months.
That's awesome.
And so that's the beauty of these. You can plug in, and most of the people getting into these franchises don't have experience in trades or B2B type of businesses. The beauty of a franchise is that they just need you to be coachable and to have your, the daily discipline to be a hard worker, and you can be successful in that business. And if people understand that, it's definitely not a business. Like this isn't about set it and forget it. But if you understand, if you spend the next 12 to 24 months running the business, you can slowly take yourself out of the equation and learn to be a good leader. So I think business ownership, even any investing in general, it teaches you the discipline to be able to get away from the daily grind of what we're all trying to achieve, right? We're all trying to achieve the same thing in theory, which is I want to wake up every day and have all my expenses covered and then some, right? Like at 45, you were able to do that. And so if you're not close to that right now, you need to do something to get you closer to that. I think that's like everybody I talk to, their real dream is like having their own thing, calling the shots, not having to go answer to some boss who's going to, one day after 20 years of service, fire you. And then like you have everybody listening to this right now, the destiny can be in your hands. And that's the way I like to bet on myself. And I know it's scary. And I know most of us have families and things, and we have to worry about paying bills. But just think, what happens if you get displaced and you can't find a job because the markets, they're not hiring, right? And the economy slumps even more. If you have your own business, you're not going to have to worry about that. And then you build the other post that you build is you start buying one rental at a time. And then over time, if you decide not to run your business at some point, then you have cash flow coming in. And that's what we all have to achieve to. I call it the 100%er rule. Once you become a 100%er, that's like your first step to getting to that 100%er. If it costs you 10 grand a month to live, how do you semi-absentee or semi-passively build a $10,000 a month? That's as simple as it gets. What do you have coming in semi-passively today? If you have nothing coming in semi-passively, you're doing yourself a huge disservice.
Love that. Bo, again, what you've done for our audience, onerentalmeeting.com. Folks, go there, book your 15 minutes, take the Zoracle, whatever it is, the test, And just ask Bo his questions. He's always there to help, always there to give advice. Bo, I love what you're doing, man. Take care.
Thank you.